Welcome back. This is the third of 4 punch window videos. This is the shop drawing review phase video. So the goal of this video is really to highlight a few things to look for as your supplier starts to produce shop drawings, but before you start installation. So let's start right at the beginning. Let's look at a few things to look at when you're reviewing your shop drawings. So let's start right at the beginning, looking at a few good questions to ask when you're reviewing the shop drawings. So the first thing, a good first question to ask is about rough openings. So I'll just start creating a list over here on the side. So when it comes to rough openings, will LSDON be guaranteeing the opening dimensions, or will your subcontractor be site measuring? There are definitely positives and negatives to both ways, but the important thing is to make sure that you and your subcontractor are on the same page. The next good thing to look at is IGU, so insulated glass unit makeup and system makeup. So I'll just put this in the list, and then over here you'll notice that I have an excerpt from the front page of a punch window shop drawing set. And so the first thing that they talk about is the window system. So they have right here a LumaCore 2600 series system. So it's important to look at what system your subcontractor is proposing and make sure that's the same as what was specified by the design team in your specs. The other thing that they talk about here is glass makeup, and you can see, so glass type, and there's actually a lot on glass type here, and it goes all the way down, keeps talking about all the way down to there. So it can seem a bit confusing, but really it's as simple as making sure that what's written on your shop drawings is the same as what is in your specification. There are really no stupid questions. If it doesn't match, ask the question why. It's much easier to figure this out now than once the glass has been ordered. The last thing that you want to look at is engineering stamps. You want to make sure that your shop drawings are stamped by a registered engineer, your punch window shop drawings, prior to the start of installation. So now that's sort of a few general things to look at. And let's dive right in and look at an actual detail. So this is a head detail, punch window into a precast system. And we'll go through this detail very similar to how we went through the head detail in video number 1, design phase video, if you watch that. So we'll pull in the same list of 4 things. I'll just paste it right in the side here. So these are 4 things to look at when you're reviewing punch window transition details. So we'll start at the top here with air vapor barrier right there. So as you can see, this is actually looking really good. So the AVB membrane, which is this dotted line here, ties right into the system, starts there, and extends up onto the exterior sheathing. So that's really good. It's continuous, which is what you want to see with air vapor barrier, and there aren't any big gaps that the membrane is spanning. This is a very small gap, so that's fine. Now that we're getting closer to installation, you can look at things like the laps between different systems. So there would be an AVB lap from your window system, and that has to tie into an AVB lap from your adjacent cladding system. So what you want to make sure is wherever there's a lap, that it's a positive lap. So the membrane from the top, like this, comes over the membrane on the bottom. So you want a proper shingle lap transition, which is similar to the shingles on your roof, which avoids water from sneaking in behind that membrane. The next thing is insulation, and similar to air vapor barrier, you want your insulation to be continuous throughout your entire building, because you don't want any cold spots or the chance of pipes freezing or any of those bad things. So as you can see here, this hatch is insulation. So the insulation is continuous all the way down and right snug up to the window, so there's no big gaps. That's really good. So that's perfect, except the way it's drawn is all one piece of insulation. In reality, this would be one and this would be a second piece. So once things start once installation gets going, you want to make sure that they actually install this funny piece of insulation down here, because that's important. Number 3 on our list, our little hit list over here, is flashing and drainage. So with flashing and drainage, you want to make sure that each system is flashed and drained independently of each other. So you want to make sure water is drained from the back of the system. So it starts here. You can see this is the through-wall flashing here, and is drained all the way up to the front, which is exactly what is shown in this detail here. So this part here is sheet metal, and that's perfect. And then on top of it is a through-wall flashing membrane, which is this dotted line. Let's make sure that it's watertight. And it's all the way out to the front of the system. So that's perfect. And sloped, you see the slope here, and you see the slope here to promote drainage. The only thing that could be added here is a drip edge right here or around there, which would promote the water just sort of dripping down there, rather than continuing and running on the other side of this angle and back towards the curtain wall or the punch window system. So best practice is always to include a drip edge. And the fourth and final thing on our list is constructive building sequence. So now that, and I'll just sort of clean this up a bit here, maybe, so we can see better. So now that we're getting closer to installation, you can start thinking seriously, so number 4 there, about sequence and constructability. So who will go first, who will go second, are there any considerations or clashes between systems? So you can start looking seriously at that. You'll also notice that there's more detail now when it comes to the anchor. So now this punch window system is being anchored by this angle here and fastened back to this HSS. So you can start thinking about how the anchor works, and like we talked about in the tender phase video, it's good to look at the secondary structure, because sometimes the punch window doesn't anchor all the way back to the main structure, and you might need things like this HSS beam here, and it's by others. So you need to ask the question, who is this by? Is it in someone else's scope? Do we have it? So who? And then also any other, like this blocking here, who is this by? Is this going to be supplied by the punch window supplier or in another scope? So that is the head detail that we just went through, but it's important to take these sort of 4 simple points on the side here, and you can go ahead and review any sort of detail, the jamb, the head, the sill, the parapet, any transition from the punch window into different types of cladding systems. Just go through and make sure that your air vapor barrier is continuous, your insulation is continuous, it's properly flashed and drained, and there aren't any serious constructability or sequence clashes. Okay, yeah.